Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey guys, it's Nariman Hamden again, and this is Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. We've got an awesome guest today that we have been trying to get on for quite some time with our schedules. We have Bethany LaFlam, and she is in the leadership business strategy industry. She is a syndication attorney. How you doing? Come on up, Beth.
Great. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad we finally got you on. It took a minute, but we got you.
Yes, we're here.
So if you can start things off by telling us a little bit about what you do and how you got into what you're doing.
Yeah. So I've been practicing law for 25 years now. And I hate saying that because then it reminds me of how old I am.
You don't look
And been an entrepreneur most of that time too. And I have taken that, I represent primarily real estate investors, but I'm also a real estate investor myself. So we've taken that, we've created a community to support people in creating wealth through investing in real estate. And so my role really is to help people leverage other people's money, but really leverage other people's everything to scale their wealth.
Sure. So how do you deal with taking risks, and is there a time when you took a risk that it really panned out for you?
Yeah, actually, about almost 2 years ago now, it'll be 2 years in September, we decided that we were going to go all in on this real estate investing thing, and I like to host retreats, so we bought a boutique hotel. It was on my vision board, right? And then a few months later, there was just this off-market deal that presented itself, and I didn't know if I was ready, but we took the leap and we raised some money, got some partners together, and we bought a boutique hotel in Belize, and that
Wow.
has gone extremely well for us. So that was a risk that did pan out. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All the way in Belize. How nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you get to go out there and enjoy it as well. So
I do. I love it so much. It's my happy place.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, everyone hits a bump in the road every now and then. Can you share a time that things did not pan out and how you got through it?
Yeah, absolutely. So about, I don't know, 10 years ago now, I left the practice of law for a while to start my own fund. And it was this wonderfully complicated fund, right, that involved EB5 investments. If you don't know what that is, it doesn't really even matter. Where we were going to do real estate developments and we were going to incubate women in minority-led companies. And my heart was in the right place. All the legal framework was dialed into a T, and it was so complicated that I could not make people understand it, and we failed miserably.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I mean, luckily we failed to raise the money altogether, so at least I didn't lose $50 million. But failed miserably. I had left my practice. I had gone, spent all my savings, and I chased that loss for a while to try to just make it work and make it work. And finally, I admitted defeat and got back into the practice of law and have completely rebuilt and turned it around since that time. But that was a wake-up call of, oh, okay, I guess just having seen it done a million times isn't exactly the same as doing it. And so
Right.
sharpened my tools, and then now I'm launching a fund actually coming up in the next 2 weeks. So
That's fantastic.
yeah, totally different, much simpler.
Good for you. So you definitely did not let that scare you from continuing on and making it happen.
Not forever. For a minute I did. For a minute I licked my wounds for a minute.
Yeah. So what's a skill or habit you think doesn't get enough credit for contributing to your success?
Letting go. Letting go. As entrepreneurs, I think we hold on so tightly to all the things because no one's going to do our thing as well as we will, and no one's going to do our thing with as much passion as we will. And that is true. It's 100% true. But one of my favorite quotes is from Dan Martell, who wrote Buy Back Your Time. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest it.
Okay.
And what he said was 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. And I 100% agree with that.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you basically are learning, you're leading the dream and the team, but it's all about learning to delegate the assignments in order to get that completed because you can't do it all on your own. And there's some things that you just aren't capable of doing. It's just
Right.
not what you're good at, and it's okay to admit that and hand it to the person that knows that department.
Yeah, I always tell people figure out what your lane is. And your lane means you are amazing at it and it lights you up, both. Because as
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, we're good at a lot of shit we don't like to do. Sorry if you have to cut that out.
No, you're fine.
It was-
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So, speaking of leading teams, so leading a team has its challenges. What's your leadership style? And can you give us an example how it helped you through a tough spot?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to be a little bit more of a control freak when I was younger. That will burn you out pretty quickly. So I've
Yeah.
learned how to be a more not I don't want to say hands-off leader, but I like to empower my team and then let them do their thing. And so I really focus a lot of energy on staying in my own lane and letting my team and trusting my team to stay in theirs. That hasn't always worked for me because I would do that before I'd take the steps to train the team or to pick a really good team. But now that I have a good team, I let them do their thing. And it's almost like I work for them because they know the vision, they know where we're heading.
Mhm.
They help keep me on track of my part that I'm contributing to that vision. And so my COO will call me and she's like, here's your to-do list. And I do it because she's the
Good.
one that's keeping us on track.
Yeah, for sure. For
Let
sure.
them, I empower them to really lead in their various departments.
Yeah. So when you're building this dream team that you've built, what's one trait you've always looked for and why?
Uh, I look for someone who is kind of fierce of a worker as I am, and that doesn't mean to the point of burning out or always available or anything like that. It used to mean that to me. It used to mean that I could call you a day or night because that's what I did, right? That's a recipe for burnout. But really it's a driven, like everything is figure outable. If the person has the mindset that everything is figure outable, then we are going to get along just fine. And I think they have the tools that they're going to need to succeed because they're trainable.
Yeah, absolutely. I've mentioned this to someone else before that said the same thing you did that. So my mother about being, finding the solution to every problem is my mom used to always say when I was growing up, what's the worst thing that can happen? She goes, either you die or you go to prison. Everything else has a solution. And I'm like, you know what? You're totally right. So like you said, everything has, except those two things, obviously, but
Yeah,
other than that, it's good
and
to
a big
go.
part of my whole practice is to keep you from going to prison. So
There you go. Yeah, exactly. No pun intended. How do you encourage your team to think outside the box and bring new ideas to the table?
we operate by the EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. You might have read it through Traction or a few other books by Gino Wickman. And so we follow the EOS system. So every week we have a level 10 meeting. And on that level 10 meeting, everybody's encouraged to bring everything from their department. And we all set goals for our individual departments. So while I used to hate when this term was thrown around because I hadn't read the book yet, but he talks about visionaries and integrators, right?
Hmm.
Visionary is the one who comes up with the big, huge ideas and the dreams and whatever, and integrators are the ones that make sure everything gets done, right?
Sure.
And you need both. You really do. And
Absolutely.
visionary. And that used to make me roll my eyes so hard. I'm like, oh my God, that makes me sound so self-important, but it's from the book. And but within everybody's specific lanes, they can be the visionary of their thing. And so they come up with the big ideas for operations. I'm not the operations person. Ashley is our operations person, and she comes up with the ideas of how to do that. And so we set our own, we call them rocks. We set our own rocks within our departments. And so we have those meetings every week, and then everybody brings their ideas, and everybody brings their solutions, and everybody brings their issues that we can all discuss. But everybody has autonomy within their lane to some extent, as long as we're going towards the vision, the overall vision.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. But you basically don't micromanage and it's everyone knows their role and you all come together and collaborate on the end solution,
Yes.
so that's awesome. Um, so what's a day in your life look like? How do you juggle work and everything else?
It's gotten a lot better over the past couple years since I learned to leverage OPE, Other People's Everything, also the title of my book. And
Ah, okay.
So now I usually get up around 6:30-ish. I am not one of those morning routine people. If you follow me on social media, actually that there's a post that just came out today about how I think that's a myth that everybody who's successful has to follow some crazy morning routine and get up at 4 a.m. No, I use the Aura Ring. I don't know if you're familiar with the Aura Ring, but it's like a step counter. It's like an Apple Watch, but a ring, right? But it tracks your sleep, it tracks your heart rate, it tracks all the things. And it tracks when your ideal sleep time is. And my ideal sleep time is around 11:30 at night till around 6:30 in the morning. 7 hours is what I need. And I get my 7 hours, and that's around the time that makes sense for me personally. And
Yeah,
so I get up, and I like to get up slow. I like to get up and I nurse my coffee for a couple of hours. I like to work out in the afternoon. So I do some creative focus time in the morning. Late morning, I do some whatever calls I have, whatever meetings, my standing calls with my team or my standing calls with clients or whatever. I do those kind of late morning, early afternoon. And then I'll do some more focus time and then I'll work out. In the evenings, actually, if I decide I want to work in the evenings, and I don't have to work in the evenings anymore, but sometimes I like to because we're building some really cool stuff.
sure.
That's when I do some of my creative work. Me and ChatGPT will sit down with, uh,
Yes.
I don't really drink it. I don't really drink wine anymore, but sit down with a glass of something, kombucha or whatever, and sometimes it's bubbles, and we'll get creative and we'll start building out stuff for the next stage of the vision. And so, but my days are not as scripted as they used to be.
Sure.
I carve out specific time to create content. I carve out specific time during windows when I've learned that myself works better for standing calls. And then we have specific times for like podcasts and being creative because frankly, I got to get ready.
Well, it takes you a couple hours to finish your cup of coffee. So,
Right, there's that. Yes.
yeah,
Well,
there's
I'm
that.
still
So,
nursing it, so forgive me.
yeah, good for you. I want to be you when I grow up. So, how do you tackle learning new things, especially stuff that's way outside of your comfort zone?
You know, I actually have this thing. So in my book, there's a section. Am I allowed to swear on here? Or are you going to edit it out?
No, go for it. You're fine.
Okay, so I have this thing in my book, and it's called my Abso-fucking-lutely analyzer. And what that is if I take all opportunities through this analyzer, it's like a deal analyzer, but for opportunities or tasks or projects. And if it doesn't align with my lane, if it doesn't align with getting me closer to my overall goals, if it's not a fuck yes, then it's got to be a no and I pass on it.
Right.
So that helps me weed things out. But that also really helps me just be cognizant of how I'm spending my time. Is this thing getting me closer to my goals? Because as entrepreneurs, we have a lot of shiny object syndrome. Like, oh my gosh, that sounds like
Yes.
a really cool thing, but it's not my thing. Right.
Right.
And so I read somewhere, I forget who said it. I'm sure a lot of people have said this, but you build by saying yes to everything, and then you scale by saying no.
Yes.
And so now
Yes.
I'm in the no phase of my life right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's good. That's where I'm at as well. Where before I was like a bird. I'd see a shiny object. I'm like, oh, what's that over there? You
yeah,
know, what's that? So now it's like, no, if it doesn't align with this, does it go work with this? Is this what I'm capable of? So I'm where you're at, where it's not like, yes, yes, oh, that's great. Yeah, that for sure. And then it's like, oh gosh, no, no, no. So totally get it. Absolutely get it. So, what's on the horizon for you? Any big goals or projects you're excited about?
yeah, there are actually. I just launched my book in February, so I'm still working on promoting that. But I'm launching my fund, Rev Luxury Fund. It's actually I think we just got the final offering documents and pitch deck today. So should be launching any minute. And
Awesome.
that is we're gonna buy our boutique hotel in Belize into that fund, and then we're gonna go buy more luxury properties, boutique hotel, short-term rentals, which is really my dream. Is as I get closer to retirement, I'll probably never retire. Is to host retreats, teaching people how to create and grow their wealth, or come back from a setback or obstacles, kind of like how I had to rebuild. And I wanted to do that from beautiful locations at properties that I own a piece of. And so this
Sure.
is really a place for people to go escape to a beautiful place and still learn how to create wealth at the same time. So that's launching Rev Luxury.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like a great retirement.
I'm pretty excited about it, actually.
It really is exciting. So, which markets are you in? Like where
So
just,
all over the world. So we're in Belize right now. We'll probably buy the next one in the US. I live in Southern California. I really want to buy a ranch in Southern California. I know everyone's like, oh, California. But I mean, places like that cash flow.
yeah.
So it's places where we can do value add that cash flow pretty quickly and where we can have multiple streams of revenue. So it could be anywhere where those things are true. And then we like stable governments.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, that sounds exciting. I mean, a ranch, I mean, the opportunities with that are endless and the different, group events that you can have there with the horses, with this, with that. So it's team building, so that's pretty exciting. So for anyone that wants to dive deeper or connect with you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they be a part of what you're doing if they want to get involved?
Instagram's the best place just because all of my stuff is there in the link tree. It's Bethany_LaFlam. You can find the book, you can find our community called the Conscious Capital Collective, you can find the law firm, and you can always see what I'm up to there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed that and learning about, your failures and successes and making the comeback. So just awesome. Oh, let me ask you this. So if somebody is looking to get into what you're doing or has, failed at something that they really just, the situation you were in, what tip or insight would you give them?
I would say your mindset is your most important tool. And while it's okay to take a minute and regroup, don't live there. If you've had a setback, if you've had a loss, if you've had a failure, anything like that that you feel like is setting you back, it doesn't do anybody any good for you to just live there. You get to pull yourself out of it. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially as women, sometimes we punish ourselves for having had a failure and then we don't allow ourselves to pull up out of that. Your mindset is your most important tool. You get to decide how you react to things, decide that you get to be successful.
Exactly. So I appreciate that. That was a great insight right there. So don't ruminate on your failures. Just use them as stepping stones to move forward. So, I mean, if you don't fail, then you're not going to succeed, which means you're not trying.
That's exactly
So,
right. Yeah.
well, thank you for coming on. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.